Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
The missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and advised that the mother has went through a wall, came home, now they can't find her.
Turn it over to another agency.
Chad, where are Lori's kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Once I told a lie, and I told my family, I had to keep lying.
What's your, is it deemed?
We haven't cleared anybody.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here for another ATS News live stream. We are covering the Watts case, deep diving into it. I believe this is episode 8. My friend CDT will be here shortly, and I have pinned her TikTok to the top of chat, and she'll be listed in the description box in the comment section in case you guys are on TikTok and want to follow more on the Watts case and also other true crime. So as long as you can hear me, chat, somebody let me know, and hit that thumbs up button. Hello, Pointer and Lover. And thank you, Duke, for becoming a member. So I seen your question also. Hi, Derek. Good to see you. And everyone else who's here. Hi, Debbie, Johnny. Good to see you. I seen somebody say, what were the girls strangled? So he said that he strangled the girls, I believe, in the prison interview. And come to find out they weren't strangled. They were actually, according to the autopsy and the medical examiner, that they were smothered. So they were asphyxiated by manual or from smothering. And then CC says likely smothering. Oh, likely asphyxiation, pardon me. So things kind of aren't really matching with what Chris has stated. Now, as far as would there be blood at Servy, we've also been told by the medical examiner that Bella fought for her life. We've also seen that she had scrapes and all that along the backside of her and other areas, including blunt force trauma to the mouth area. So again, it's a question of, well, did that happen before or post-mortem? If the children were already smothered and then put through the tank hatch, you would think that there would be some material, something linking her post-mortem injuries, if those were post-mortem, to the tank hatch. And what we discovered in our last live stream, which is something I'm just going to jump right into, is they did the Blue Star test on the Servy hatches, and they tested it and did the protocols that they were supposed to do, and nothing came back as there being blood there. So again, even though your heart's not pumping and the blood's not coming out, would there still be remnants of something on these thief hatches that he allegedly put them down? In my opinion, if that's how it went down, you would see some sort of trace. So this just kind of runs through what Blue Star is, since we'll be reading up on it. And it's basically like luminol, a test that's done on multi-surfaces that it allows for, very easy to use and non-toxic. It does not destroy DNA. It's extremely sensitive. Its extreme sensitivity allows for detection of cleaned or washed blood traces. It is also used in archaeological research. So it's a leader in its market and is used in more than 95 countries around the world to solve numerous investigations. So these are just little photos of what it looks like. And since today is Shanann's birthday, I found that it was fitting to kind of play a video that she did, a live stream of her on her birthday in 2017. So it wasn't her last birthday. I have footage of her last birthday in my documentary if you guys wanted to reference that and kind of see that. But this one is 2017. And when it comes to her videos, I think that they add value to this case still, because we just don't know the time frame of when things start of breaking way for Chris to, I guess, make room for Nicole Kessinger in his life. And, we know that Nicole was searching the family in 2017. So it's still relevant to look at 2017 as far as those videos they're still relevant. So let's just take a minute. If you want to add hearts or candles to the chat, you can do so for Shanann's birthday. I believe she would have turned 40 today. And then this is just a video of hers. It's on Facebook, and we'll just share it here.
Hey guys. So as I'm sitting here going through my Facebook, it's been a crazy day. I actually have to hop on another call here in just a few minutes with a dear friend of mine, Mitch, and his wife, Jenny. And then Christina in Hawaii. It's been an incredible day. The best birthday I've had in ages. I'm really looking forward to 2017. I'm 33 years old this year.
24.
Chris says I'm 24. All I can say is this is going to be a blessed year. I have amazing friends in my life this year. I'm overwhelmed with all the birthday wishes. Everyone wishing me a happy birthday. It's been an incredible year. And family doesn't always include just family. Your friends become your family, and I have a humongous family of friends that are absolutely incredible and spoil me rotten and love on me dearly. And truly, you guys are a huge inspiration and a blessing to me, and I'm so grateful to have all my friends in my life. Every one of you guys have been amazing to me, and I'm really grateful for all of you guys. Hi everybody. Hey Sharon. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'm truly thankful for every one of you guys. It's going to be a fun year. It's crazy because I have 3 dates this week, 2 with my dear friends and then 1 with my hubby. He got to get scheduled in on a Friday night. So
Had to pull straws.
So I am truly blessed and overwhelmed with amazing friends that are my family and my family as well. So I wanted to let you guys know how grateful I am for you and how thankful I am. I promise I will get back to every one of you who wished me happy birthday. I truly want to thank each and every one of you because you took the time out of your day to wish me happy birthday, and I want to do the same in gratitude. I'm sitting here. I'm going to finish doing a couple more calls before the end of the night and start grinding with some of the new people that are coming, and anyone that's ready to take on 2017, who's ready to accomplish whatever goals and dreams you have. Like, literally send me a message. Let's talk. Last night's call has got my team in an uproar, a good uproar. I mean, they are on it today. I think I ate lunch at 4:00. So truly a blessing, and I'm so excited for you guys, and I'm so blessed to have you on my team. I'm sitting here with my diffuser that I just got on my birthday. It even comes with a remote. I mean, seriously, dude, like, you can play melodies. I feel like I'm sitting here at a spa, like getting a massage. But look at how awesome it is, and it changes colors. I'm still trying to figure out how to work it. That turns the color off. If Sarah's out there, Sarah can help me here. But I love my Aria diffuser. Okay, now I don't know how to turn the lights back on. See? That's what happens when you play with things. Leave it up to me to break it already.
Good job,
You're not very helpful, Chris. Oh, there it is. Nope. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Read the directions. Hey, Kevin. Hey, Christina. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Bonnie. So I'm going to try to figure out why my light came off on here. I think I broke it already. It's going to aggravate me now. Sarah. Where's Sarah Nudd? Get Sarah Nudd back on this call. Sarah, get on this call and help me fix my Aria. Bye, Brittany. I love you. Text me when you get out of class. I'll still be awake here. I want to chat with you. I'm so proud of you. Amazing job today. Kevin's got a promoter coming up. You guys are absolutely rock stars, and I love you guys all. So I gotta go. I gotta call Mitch and Jenny, and then I gotta call Christina after that. So I will talk to you guys soon. Have a wonderful day. Rock on. All right, guys. See you soon. Woo. Chris is doing his homework while I'm doing mine. All right, love you guys.
Freaking Chris at the end. Woo! He's so dorky. Hello, Criminality, Aries, Thistle, Seth, everyone who's joined. Thank you guys for being here. So yeah, I just wanted to play a little bit of her on her birthday again. That was the year before her last birthday, but you know, we have to remember the victims and kind of keep their faces out there. This isn't just about the investigation and about Chris. You know, Shanann should be here, and so should the girls, and they should be celebrating her birthday alive and together. So, you know, we have questions, and they're legit questions. You know, wouldn't there be no blood because the girls were smothered? Well, for Bella to have fought for her life and for there to be no trace of blood in, you know, the house, all these places, including the catwalk. So she had damage to her frenulum. And, you know, wounds bleed. Again, some of the wounds we just don't know if they were taking place before or after she passed. But the problem is, and let me just share my screen, there should be some sort of trace somewhere. Not this one. Sorry, I have multiple tabs that I want to pull up. Just bear with me. Is it this one? Nope. But this is a search that I did for urine because that is something that's usually very present during an asphyxiation. And there's no urine trace or remnants of it in any of the materials that were processed. So, okay, CDT said 5 minutes, no problem. So, you know, the house, everything, nothing comes back as there being human matter. So there's no fecal matter. You can't even search the word fecal matter, anything pertaining to bodily fluids in the discovery at all. So give me a second. I'm still looking for okay, that's this one. Now this is important. This is stuff that matters during an investigation. If there's no blood in these areas, you just kind of have to wonder, like, what's going on? All right. So again, we're back to this review that we did in our last live stream where we talked about how they utilize the Blue Star stain reagent. Let's just start from the top here. Hold on. Okay, Watts had given consent to collect any and all evidence that police could use to locate his missing family. Watts also stated to Baumhover the home could be processed with forensic methods to obtain evidence relating to his family's disappearance. Detective Baumhover and I agreed I would photograph the residence, utilize Blue Star latent blood stain reagent on areas alerted on by the canines. So anywhere that the canines showed interest or alerted, that's where they were definitely going to apply this blue star latent blood stain reagent. And then assist with the collection of any evidence located in the residence. It was agreed upon that CBI would not collect the evidence. Frederick Police Department would collect and package all evidence located in the search. According to Detective Baumhover, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me before I keep reading. But yeah, hi MK, give me a thumbs up while we wait for Kelly, because she is vital in my brain processing too with this case. She's just got great input. All right, so and then assisted with the collection of evidence located in the residence. It was agreed upon that Frederick Police Department would package and collect all evidence located in the search. So Frederick is kind of who's to blame for removing the bedding and stuff like that in plastic bags instead of paper, because it seems like CBI were hands off when it came to collection of evidence here. According to Detective Baumhover, Chris Watts had been living in and accessing the home prior and since the disappearance of his family on Monday. Scene observations. The neighborhood and home is located within a newer residential area consisting of large single-family homes. 2825 Saratoga Trail is a 2-story single-family residence located on the south side of the street with the front doors facing north towards Saratoga Trail. The home has 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms with office space and an unfinished basement and 3-car garage. Upon entering the front door, there is a living room and dining room. To the left is a staircase that leads to the upstairs bedrooms, laundry, and loft area. Near the staircase that leads upstairs is halfway that runs to the east side of the house. The hallway provides access to the basement stairs and bathroom, utility room, garage entrance, and office. On the south side of the residence, in a full kitchen, eating area, and additional family room, and a door on the south side of the kitchen opens to the backyard of the home. The upstairs portion of the home consists of 3 bedrooms, a playroom, laundry room, and central living television room. The home is in a like-new condition with no visible signs of damage and was cleaned and organized. A walkthrough of the home showed no signs of forced entry at all. Basement and first floor windows, no doors appeared to have been forced or damaged. So here it says no signs of forced entry at all basement and first floor windows. Now, from what we've seen, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, in the body cam footage that we've been breaking down, we don't have evidence of them kind of looking through or checking every single window. In fact, that was something that we kind of brought up. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Thank
Good.
you for being here.
Yes, of course.
We're just kind of looking up blue star stuff that was used in the house and at Serby, and kind of going over again on what we kind of discussed briefly and on our last live stream, how they had found none on the oil tanks or the catwalk. Now we've have legit questions of, the girls were smothered, even though Chris says strangled in his confession. They were smothered. We do know that Bella fought for her life. She had damage to her frenulum in her mouth. She had scrapes up her buttocks and stuff like that. It's been rumored that those were caused from putting her into the tanks. Now, we don't know if that's entirely true or that's what it's from, but say that is true. Even though it was injuries post-mortem, supposedly, we don't even know if that's true. Do you find it odd that they found no blood on the oil tanks or the catwalk?
I do, and I was reading chat before I joined, and I do think that it is a fair point. If we're going to listen to Chris's confession and believe whatever parts we want to believe, people were bringing up the possibility that a blanket was involved, and could that have caught blood? But even still, that type of injury, I'm obviously not an expert, but I would think, and again, not to, be graphic, but like if she did go through the top, like going in, you think that there would be something. And the fact there was nothing, like, that's interesting to me. And I
Right.
think it is worth questioning.
I think so too. Because even if, the fact that there's none on the catwalk, so
Right.
say, so she didn't drip blood at all, like on the way to the tanks, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like she fought for her life, like that little piece in her mouth underneath your tongue or whatever was completely torn. Like it wasn't like she went into those tanks with her face pristine. They gave her a blunt force trauma indication on her autopsy. That's not just a little, nick or cut. Like that's blunt force trauma. You know what I mean? So you would think that somewhere there would have been, along the catwalk or on the railing, up the stairs, like something, some form of blood. So this all goes to, well, then what are you saying? Well, I think that as much as Chris lies, I think he really is lying specifically about them going through the top the way that they did. Now,
Right.
people question, well, there wasn't enough time for them to do the bottom. And we're going to look at the drone footage. But I just think that if we look outside of the narrative that we've been given from the state and from Chris, even in the prison interview, like when things were disposed of, it wasn't in that Monday morning before he goes home and Nicole Atkinson and the cops are there. Like I think that whenever it took place, it was in a time frame where they had enough time to kind of open that bottom manway. And we discovered in our last live stream, and still no one has shown me otherwise, that we don't really have a record of the oil levels before the water truck guy gets there on Tuesday. So his job is to vacuum out the water on top of the oil or in those tanks. And we have no levels indicated for that Monday or anything like that. So it's a question that I think is fair. I also think that there's a possibility that maybe one went through the bottom and then maybe they were running out of time and they were able to put one through the top. There's that questionable hair that's been found on one of them, even though we don't see a picture of it or we never got that hair tested. We don't know whose it is. Yeah, Tony says, I can't see them going through the top, in my opinion.
A lot of people feel that way. Like a lot of people really struggle with that. And then I completely agree about the oil levels. Again, if this had gone to a trial, gone further in the investigation, all of that information should have and likely would have been ironed out. And same with the like, are there sensors? Are there not? Would you, how long would you really have to stand there before feeling ill? All of those things. And what NK exactly did. We know she was in charge of safety, but all of that is relevant.
Yes, exactly. And we don't know how big this supposed plan was, if there was some sort of plan to explode the tanks. As far as people's involvement, like were there actually people like NK who had access to information that kind of kept it under wraps because they're in this conspiracy for this plan? Like this is all stuff that you can't prove 100%, but you can't disprove 100%. So, and thank you so much for the gifted membership, Derek. I appreciate you. And Nikki Rex being a member for 21 months. She says, missed both you beautiful ladies. Happy 2024. It's good to see you. And thank you, Derek, again for another gifted membership. And thank you guys for being here. Again, if you just joined, hit that like button. And I have the TikTok of CDTs linked at the top. We're trying to get her to 10,000 followers on TikTok. And she has really good Watts content on there too. So if you're obsessed with this case and you don't have all day to kind of sit with us, you can watch shorter content there. And it's still very knowledgeable and interesting. So let me just read a little bit more about this blue star because, even though it says here that it was applied to all bathrooms, fixtures, tub, shower, sink, toilet, which resulted in no signs or chemiluminescence. Blue star was applied at the locations where the searching canines had alerted: mudroom by the garage and on top of the basement stairs in the hallway to the mudroom. See, that's interesting because we've only gone and looked at where we see the canines alert. And here we have it documented that, it's in parentheses, mudroom by the garage. So a dog alerted or showed interest there. On top of the basement stairs in the hallway to the mudroom, no signs of chemical luminescence. So interesting. We observed in these areas as well prior to testing. So yeah, we were kind of wondering what this meant. The positive and negative presumptive tests were done with expected results, and people, my subscribers, are just super knowledgeable. Some of them work in labs themselves, and it did make sense, their explanation of it. It's just like a test done. And then they do the real form of, okay, let's process this and see what we find. So while assisting with the search of the home, I observed in the kitchen trash, bed sheets, and a pillowcase. The sheets and pillowcases were grayish in color with numerous small light blue, light green, lavender colored squares on the sheets. The bedding was buried beneath other items of trash. Further examination showed that the sheet to be flat sheet and 3 matching pillowcases. Stains were observed on the sheet and pillowcases. And then, to go further on that bedding, the bedding from the kitchen trash was collected by federal police department throughout the home. Several electronic items and clothing were located. And then I don't think it ever mentions again what those stains were on that bedding. Like it just carries on with Anadarko scene investigation property.
That's
So
frustrating.
mhm.
It's just like, okay, stains, but moving on.
Yeah. So I'm not sure whatever happened with those. We never see them again. We see them photographed and kind of out there for us to look at, but we don't see them ever again, or the process of them kind of testing what those stains were. People have looked at it and thought that it was blood. Other people have looked at it and thought it was makeup. I think it could be a mixture of maybe some chemical used to sedate her and her makeup. It's hard to really say, and just another question that we have. Just looking at some of this stuff before I just read every single word. Okay, so while did you want to say something?
I was just going to say real quick, I was just thinking remember after Jane, so when they're talking about the dog and the mudroom and above the basement, was that Jane's dog or was that the second one that came in after Jane, I wonder?
Right. I know they're vague.
Right. Because we don't see a lot of body cam with that guy, I feel like he's kind of not near Kate Lyons the whole time.
I know. We don't have anything about him.
Yeah.
And his dog was the first one in the neighborhood search to take part and smell a scent from the home. And then the footage that we do have is with Jane's dog. It's the follow-up one. So that might be another reason why people felt like, oh, what the heck, Jane? Oh, good night, Seth. Oh, what the heck? Jane isn't paying any attention to, hi, Roxanne and Chase, to her dog alerting. I'm almost thinking like she was the follow-up. So maybe that's why it appears like she kind of dismisses the dog. Like maybe they're just taking note of like, yep, my dog smells something too. You know what I mean? And the first one that went through that we don't ever get the footage of is the one that picked up other scents too. You know what I mean?
Yes. Very interesting.
Because at one point, Jane says Jeff's dog found the scent of the home down here or something. So yeah, it talks about the sheets in the kitchen trash and how the one at Survey was found to be the same pattern. Anadarko employees stated there was no plausible reason for the disturbance on the land. The disturbed area shared common characteristics consistent with a possible clandestine. What's this word?
I don't recognize it, but I'm going to Google it.
Okay, please. I forgot to do that beforehand because I was reading it. And I'm like, what does that mean? It was decided that once a warrant had been signed for the property, CBI would begin the collection of the evidence located around the scene and then begin the excavation of the possible grave site. See, this is interesting that CBI took care of the evidence at Survey, but the federal police department took care of the house. So
That is interesting.
yeah, two different agencies using two different methods to collect evidence.
So it says it means kept secret or done secretively, especially because illicit.
Oh.
And then the example is, she deserved better than these clandestine meetings. That's what NK felt. It's so weird.
Okay, so then the
So, yeah.
disturbed area shared common characteristics consistent with a possible secret grave site, if it means sort of the same. CBI would conduct more extensive, intrusive searches for any additional evidence that could be located within the scene. Blah, 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 blah. The Anadarko well site was located approximately 9 miles north of Rogan, Colorado, along dirt roads and dirt two-track trails. The site itself is 3 to 4 acre property fenced with barbed wire and secured by a gate lock on the west end. I'm just reading through, guys. So Blue Star, okay, down here. Blue Star latent blood reagent was applied to the thief hatch of each tank after positive and negative presumptive tests of the reagent had been done with expected results. So that just means they tested it before they did their full process. No chemicalescence, I'm probably saying that wrong, chemicaluminescence was observed on each tank or the catwalk connecting the tanks. On the north edge of the excavated plot was a rusted rake head. The rake had been placed with the handle attached portion buried into the ground. So, that rake thing is a huge mystery. And when we look at the drone footage, there is supposedly, you can see around the tanks, rake marks. So we'll look at that. On the property were 2 black plastic bags. One bag was located to the west of the excavated plot, while the bag was located to the south. To the south of the black plastic bag was a bed sheet. The bed sheet was a fitted sheet consistent with the same patterns and colors of the sheet I observed in the kitchen trash of the home Saratoga Trail. As the search of the site continued, I observed several strands of suspected hair attached to the interior flange of the top hatch. So several strands. So I've only ever honed in that there was like a piece of hair. So this is claiming several strands attached to the hatch of the eastmost crude oil storage tank. After the collection of the visible evidence, CSM Maloney and I began the excavation of the suspected grave site. 9 inches below the surface, I located the adult female victim believed to be Shanann Watts. The victim was in a fetal position with her knees pulled up to her chest at the bottom of the grave and her feet directed up towards the top of the grave. Her chest and face primarily was facing down into the ground while her back was oriented up. Her head was towards the west while her feet were towards the east. Her left arm was extended to the east side alongside of her head. The victim was wearing a blue pair of underwear and a light colored shirt. So I just want to kind of look at this again. It does say her chest and her face primarily were facing down into the ground. So and then it says her head was towards the west while her feet were towards the east. So does that mean, I don't know. I just always was under the impression that her face was that her head was looking a certain way, but according to this note, it's saying that her face was face down. But I swear there's another part in here that talks about her head facing a certain way, like her face, but I could be wrong there. But yeah, so this pretty much was just us going over the fact that there's nothing on the tanks or the catwalk related to blood. Huge question is, would there be some? And I feel like there should be some bit of blood, dropping from Bella's injury when she fought for her life, maybe even from fitting them into the tank. I mean, there should be something. So that's another reason why I just feel like they went through the bottom part. Florida Bass says, damn, I'm late. Yeah. And you've been bothering us all day about going live and what topics to discuss, etc. All right. So while we are discussing the crime scene, I want to take a trip down memory lane and revisit a video that I'd done years ago. It's sort of embarrassing to go back and look at old videos, but the information in this leads me to think more and more that the petroleum engineer who is in this HLN segment with Ashley Banfield is onto something when he says that he just doesn't think they went through the top. Now, I'm open to the idea that maybe one went through the bottom hatch and then one went through the top, and that might explain why they're in separate tanks, or the oil levels, let's say, because one of them, the oil level was lower. So I don't know, they can sift oil back and forth. Obviously, this takes time. So the timeline wouldn't be matching what the district attorney has said, but nothing he has said really matches the evidence. And he's taken back statements too. And I did see somebody bring up the district attorney's recent podcast that he did where he stated to leave Nicole Kessinger alone. Did you listen to it?
So I listened to parts of it. It honestly made me really angry. So I want to go back and listen to it again. But he mentioned how the girls had long, flowing blonde hair and they would dance around the living room. What? I'm like, first of all, only one had blonde hair. It wasn't long. And I don't know. It was just, and he was like saying something about how, doing cartwheels in the living room, just like my daughter was about that age and she knows better than to do cartwheels in the living room, but she still does. And I don't know, just the whole thing. But I didn't listen to the whole thing. I'm already getting worked up over it. He just made me really angry. But I do want to go back. I did not get to where he talked about MK. I just had to turn it off. I need to go back. Yeah, Angie watched it. And Amber, did you see Seth's super chat?
Oh no, I was busy reading those.
Okay, yeah, he sent one.
Pages of the discovery that were just. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm scrolling up to find it, but yeah, that podcast, from what I've seen, people are like frustrated with it as well. No, I'm like scrolling all the way up. I'm sorry, Seth. I didn't even realize it. Oh, in memory of
he is in the zone.
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate that. But yeah, so people are up in arms about Rourke saying leave Nicole alone. Mm-hmm. Again, we have to keep in mind that this is an election year and he looks very unfavorable and not in a good light when it comes to this case. And I think that he's trying his best to kind of win over constituents or look like he handled it appropriately, because he's the type, and a lot of, attorneys probably are, that, they're not going to admit when they've done wrong. And I just feel like he's reaching and going above and beyond to do this podcast. How many years later? You would think that if everything was in tip top, how it should have been for that, he wouldn't even need to address the case at all. But over time, we've seen, CBI and the district attorney and Baumhofer, like they come out every now and then and they try to shut down all the rumors and speculation. And I just feel like they're wasting their breath.
Right. And another thing he said was something along the lines of, when he's making these decisions about, what to do with a case, he like listed off people that he consults, and he mentioned his wife. And I'm like, and even I think I watched it, I cannot remember the name, Inside Criminal Minds or something. And, he kind of narrated a little bit through it, and he's like, did he just say, he consults his wife about these cases? That is very inappropriate. But yeah, people in chat, Marshall was like, I couldn't finish it. That's how I felt. I was like, I had to take a break.
That's bizarre. And we all know how he met his wife, and now you can think what you want about it, but he was her attorney during her trial, or I don't know, I guess her case against her abuser, because she was SA'd.
Yeah.
And he was representing her, and then they got together after that case, or like during that case, or what. It's just kind of weird. I don't know. He just rubs me the wrong way. And
Me too.
I think that he knows that he doesn't come across as honest, so he'll do whatever it takes.
And I really think I don't want to, throw words around, but I just think he thinks he's above everything and everyone. And I truly don't think he cares, and he's in his profession and his role for the right reasons. Well, thank you, Seth.
Thank you, Seth, for the gifted memberships, and welcome to all the members that were donated so far in this show. I hope you guys like it here. Derek said Dork is a turd. For real. Yeah, he's the worst. I've only seen another case that has rubbed me as wrong as the Watts case, in a sense of like the district attorney and stuff, and it was that Brandon Dassey one. Like those like legal constituents or whatever, or not counselors or whatever in that case, were still like gives you like that bad taste in your mouth, like Rourke does, and it's like something's going on, like something is wrong here. But okay, so we're gonna revisit this old video. Please don't mind my awkwardness. I was not comfortable in front of the camera. I'm still not, but and I'm wearing a pink wig. So there we got it all laid out, so we can kind of watch this and just know that I'm cringing the entire time. But we have good information from a petroleum engineer in this, and I think that it's vital in kind of understanding these oil tanks. And there, I think, still is room for the fact that maybe only one went down the hatch and maybe the other one was at that bottom manway. So let's just watch this, sit back, and thank you all for being here.
How do you get them in the tanks? The hatch. How do you access that?
Walk upstairs.
And then what? So they were saying like you could barely fit an arm through that. How big is it?
That's like, that's how we gauge tanks.
So you think it's about like, just like a pot or what's that thing on the ground of the street?
Like a manhole?
Like a manhole cover, like is that big? Okay. Was it hard to get them in there? Did you have to push or anything, or?
So he's claiming that it's, the size that he just drew out, which I think he drew it a little bit bigger than it actually is, personally. And he's claiming that it wasn't hard at all to get them through there. So again, Chris lies all the time. I'm calling BS here. And, there's just no way that he held them by their wrists and dropped them in, no problem. Your thoughts?
I agree with that. I think if they did go through the top, it wasn't easy. At least as easy as he was explaining it right here.
Agree. Okay, so my opinion, without being too graphic, it wouldn't be that quick and easy for them to go through that hatch.
So tell me again a little about that hatch. We have some guys out there who think that hatch is just too small. You think it's about what size? Let's compare it to this plate.
That's about twice the size of that.
Twice the size of this plate? Yeah. Okay. Now it sounds crass, but did you have to kind of squeeze them in to get them down there?
I mean, wouldn't write it. I mean, okay. I don't want to go describe it, but I mean.
Yeah. Feet first or head first? Feet. Okay. And then, were their arms like this, or were their arms like this? Because you're holding your arms. Okay. All right. So I know we've asked you 1,000 times, and you're probably getting sick of it, but we're very, very concerned about how to get those kids out. You can imagine we can't really cut a hole in that tank because the sparks will blow something.
Yeah.
So I just want to make very sure that you're 100% sure that they're in there.
Yes.
Okay. One in one in the other.
Yes.
So Coder just said something along the lines that they can't like try themselves because the sparks would explode something, and Chris pretty much agreed. So sounds pretty easy, which we already knew that a fire could start out there. Florida said the girls weren't supposedly to die. Oh, they weren't supposed to die. Right. They weren't part of the plan. Demon Child, good to see you. He said he did push them in. Now, so then Demon, do you believe, if that's true, that there would be more evidence of them going through the top than just a few strands of hair that were never tested and proved to be one of the girls? Do you think Demon Child, or anyone who thinks that they did go through the top, do you think Blue Star, the chemical reagent, should have picked up on evidence of them going through there? Now, here's where I'm kind of ignorant, I guess. If they were already passed, even if Bella did get those scrapes post-mortem, like I said, the blood's not pumping and gushing, but wouldn't there still be some blood from the body itself? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't just disappear. It's got to go somewhere. Angie says no way they went through the top, not unless he cleaned it. So that's the thing, Duke, is that Blue Star page that I was reading through pretty much says that like you can clean it with bleach, you can clean it, as much as you want, and Blue Star will pick up the iron in the blood and show the blood, no matter how hard you try to pick it up or clean it. I'm sorry. So their bodies would have shown it. Yeah. So like on their nightgowns and stuff, Bella, who fought for her life, there should probably still be blood on her nightgown. We don't have any of that information either. But for the hatch, I just don't know. It's for me, it's just a huge cluster.
Now, that doesn't make sense to me. Why would you?
I wasn't thinking at this point. I was scared out of my mind. I didn't know what to do.
Okay. So you carried one up, put her in. Did you shut it?
It just flashes.
Okay. Oh, it's just a latch.
Yeah.
So people asking about the crude oil, I mean, that's not going to affect the hatch though, or the catwalk that got them there. So maybe the crude oil would destroy evidence like on their nightgowns and stuff. Maybe that's why we have no information about what was found on them, but I don't know. The oil wouldn't be at the top. Tearing of the skin. I mean, Bella has injuries described like that on the back of her. So I don't know. It's just a huge question. Would there still be evidence at those hatches of something taking place, of him putting them in there?
And then went back down, got the other one, went up the different tower. Is that how it works?
Same staircase. It's twice the size of that.
Twice the size of this place? Okay.
Okay, I just want to know why Chris thought that the beef hatch was double in size when we can clearly see, even though this isn't the same one, it's a standard size, that there's no way it was quick and easy to drop them in feet first and leave the scene before coworkers showing up.
They found those children in tanks that were nearly full. And as I have learned from you, the full capacity of these tanks is somewhere between 600 and 700 barrels of oil. That's a lot. So let's just say nearly full is 500, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And, the strange thing to me is openly available, you can find the production rate of that well. And At its best, it was producing about 200 barrels per month. So it leads me to believe that, the oil probably wasn't completely drained out by whoever put the girls in these tanks. They probably shifted the liquids from one tank over to the other one, opened, put it in, and then shifted the liquids back to the other side. That requires quite a bit of technical knowledge, and it does take a certain amount of time.
And let me stop you there.
Okay, so if what the engineer is saying here is it was probably someone who worked in the oil fields who handled the thief hatch and everything that took place there.
Because that was my next question. Obviously, that drill site producing only 200 barrels a month is not going to be able in 4 days, that's the time it took to find the bodies, to fill even one of those tanks up to 600-700 barrels. It would take 3 months to fill them naturally. So just thinking that through, if in fact the opening on the top, and again I'll hold it up, is too small for Chris Watts to, as he apparently, according to the police, admitted, too small for him to put those children through, he would have had to do it from the bottom, which means the tank would have had to be empty or he'd have been gushed on by a full tank of oil.
Okay, so I know in the discovery it says that they found hair at the top thief hatch, but I feel what the engineer has to say in this next segment is interesting.
So you're saying that there's a pump that goes between those two tanks, and he could pump one tank empty and put now there's the thief hatch, and I think that's your hand, Wesley, correct? Right next to the thief hatch at the top?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a relative
that's my
size.
hand to give you scale. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's at the top.
Yeah,
This is
so
an example tank that's similar.
So I agree with what you said, Tony, about not to be graphic, but toddlers are pretty flexible. And then you said you followed up with, but I don't think that they would fit in the top, though, in my opinion. I agree. Like it's possible, I guess. And especially since we have the rumor from Dr. Phil's show that they had broken bones, allegedly. We don't know that for sure because we don't have information to their full autopsies. But, if they did go through the top hatch and it required some finagling to get them through, then that just shows also that Chris's confession here is not matching that evidence or that theory, because he says, oh, I held them by the wrist and dropped them in feet first. It's not that hard. It wasn't hard. It's a problem that his confession isn't really matching what possibly took place. So then that leads you to think, was it even him who did this? Did somebody else do this? Derek says, I'm thinking the hatch, maybe the oil was enough of a lubricant to let them fit in. But the oil was only, I think, less than 2 feet in one of them. And then the other one was like 9 feet. And the tanks are taller than that. So there was no oil like at the top, like at that hatch area. It's not like the oil goes all the way up there and, they were lubricated and put in. So that's the other thing too. And thank you, Atlas, for the gifted memberships, and welcome to all the new members. What are your thoughts listening to this again? I know it's probably been a while since you've heard this engineer kind of talk about how possibly they put the oil in one side and shifted it to the other side, etc. And this took time and skill, but it would have been by somebody who's familiar with the oil industry and these methods.
Right. And I mean, again, we don't know when exactly everyone was disposed of. We don't have time of death. So is it possible that they did have the time to do this? And we would never know because there's no, evidence. Obviously, it wasn't ironed out. But everyone's like, there wasn't enough time. That's only if we believe Chris's narrative of when they were disposed of and that he was out there alone, etc. Again, that he worked with NK, other people who would have been able to do this, in my opinion. Not saying NK could do this alone, but yeah. And then I think your point as well about the mention of broken bones on Dr. Phil. Once again, could that be true? Yeah. And Dr. Phil slipped up and said something that they had redacted. But if so, then like you're saying, Chris's original confession, if you will, here is not true. Yet again, more lies. Like he's acting like it was easy. If it's true they had the broken bones, that's a completely different situation.
Right. And I'm still open to maybe one went through the top and one went through the side,
Yeah.
I think that that's still possible. I think we just need to get away from the idea that this is when it happened and it was before the coworkers showed up and blah, 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 because at a trial and just in general, science matters. And the science behind their time of death has never been given to the public. So we just can't just say, like, no, 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 this happened before they showed up at work and Chris did this alone. It's like, you don't know that fully. And the district attorney who has fed us that theory has taken back statements, has not answered why the mistress was stalking them a year prior. It's like, who are you going to trust? We're surrounded by liars in this case, Chris and the district attorney.
Right. Another thing Rourke said, and I will double check on this, but it was something along the lines of how Chris admitted to it all after a very good interrogation, like talking about the night he was arrested. And I'm like, he didn't, though. Like, once again, I have never and will never and do not believe that Shanann killed the girls. But the point is, when it comes to justice, like Chris had not confessed to the girls. He had only confessed to Shanann, and then the media immediately is told from two officers that he confessed to it all, and that was the narrative. And now Rourke is still spinning that, and it's just so frustrating, the whole entire thing.
He's going to spend the rest of his career spouting off their narrative, and I think Agent will also, and so on and so forth. And yet Tony brings up a good point, like maybe two people handled each girl, and that explains the separate tanks, and that explains why maybe one was through the front or top hatch and maybe one was at the bottom hatch, or there was more than one person there kind of shifting the oil from one side to the other, etc. I just think that we need to keep our minds open to it being outside of what District Attorney Rourke and Chris is trying to tell us.
Agree.
Yeah, that's part of what kind of bent my brain is, I really don't think you could easily get anything, and it's designed that way for you to not drop anything through that top hatch. They keep it very small, so 8 inches is quite small. That's what made me think you pretty much have to take that bottom manway open, and the standard design, there's 64 bolts, and you got to drain all of the liquids out to really,
we have a picture of that. Put the picture up of the bottom manway, because Wesley's also given us an example photo of this tank. Now you can see the relative size of that opening and all those bolts that would have to be opened, unscrewed and screwed back on. And clearly it is at the bottom of the tank. So it's going to have to be that tank's going to have to be literally dry. But Wesley, just in terms of the time, because Chris Watts was seen leaving his house at 5:30 in the morning. And
another thing in this case that's been very controversial is the idea that Chris had enough time to do everything that he needed to that morning without his coworkers showing up.
He had to have some kind of an alibi to be working by 7:30, 8:30, or 9:30 in the morning. So there were not, and it's 45 minutes to drive there. So he didn't have an inordinate amount of time at this site to dig a shallow grave for his wife and then do all this work at these two oil tanks. How much time does it take to pump the oil between the tanks? It can't be the same as that forensic vacuum.
No, and I think you could probably do that within an hour, more or less, depending on how full the tanks were.
The questionable timeline that morning has just always stuck with me with this case. I even made a post about it back in December in a Facebook group. There's just really no time that he could have, in my opinion, done everything.
Okay, this page right here is from the Discovery. There's a few things that stand out to me.
Mostly the part where it says that there was hair found at the thief hatch on top. I've never seen a picture of this hair, and they said that they took pictures of it. If anyone can find that picture, let me know. Another thing that stuck out was it says that the grave for Shanann was freshly dug. The dirt appeared to be freshly dug. What exactly could that mean? It seems like it could leave room for it maybe to have been dug like a few days prior. A lot of people argue that there wasn't enough time for Chris to do everything himself, but that he could have dug things prior to that day, which is true. I definitely think he could have dug it maybe Saturday night. There is pictures of him wearing socks and flip-flops, which is to me kind of unusual since he was supposed to be on a date with NK that night. They do have boots in his Lexus, which supposedly he took that day. Did he change out of his boots and go into his flip-flops? I don't know. It's just something that's always like stuck out in my head that he was wearing socks with flip-flops walking around the gas station. He does have carpal tunnel, but that doesn't mean that NK couldn't have helped him shovel. It's really hard not to speculate about the series of events that took place that morning. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and subscribe and like if you like the content. And I'll see everyone next time.
So I seen somebody ask about the hair. So that's the thing, Debbie, but there was hair found on the hatch. But the hair was never tested and shown to us whose it was. You know, was that a hair from a coworker? Was that a hair from, you know, anything? And just because hair is found at the top, what does that mean? Does that really mean that they both definitely went through the top? Like, I don't know. It's just, I need more. And unfortunately, we don't have it because, you know, this case ended in a plea deal. But I just think there's enough room for maybe that bottom manway to have been used and a different process. All right, so let's see. What do I want to show next? So this has nothing to do with Serby. This is part of an autopsy finding. I don't even know how to pronounce this. Toluene, but it's an organic solvent commonly found in products such as glues, paints, and lacquers. It is like benzene and C and S depressant. Hippuric acid is a glycine conjugate. Again, these are big words, but this was found in Shanann's chest cavity blood. And it says it's like a soluble found in a lot of times urine. But again, it's just interesting that this was found in her chest cavity blood. And I don't know what to make of it, but it says intoxication with this substance is manifested by slurred speech, slow movements, and inability to concentrate. So again, why was this something that is found in these products like glues, paints, and lacquers found in her blood when they did her autopsy of the chest cavity blood?
Yeah, that's interesting.
It just kind of goes along with like the butanol or whatever that was found also in her autopsy. And it was listed under abnormal findings. I won't pull it up now, but we've gone over a few times, and it was something that says is found in like paint and stuff, and that it can cause sedation. So people wonder, you know, why wasn't she fighting back and stuff, or why did she leave the house? How were they able to get her out of the house if she was still alive? Because I don't think that anybody died in the house. I really think that it's possible that there was some sort of something made to sedate her or to kind of keep her in a position where she couldn't fight. Now, we also have theorized maybe she left by gunpoint because of the bullets found in the neighborhood. That can be dug into on another live stream. But just looking through to try to find like urine, I was trying to find remnants of it found in the house. Nothing was found. No bodily fluids search can be found in this discovery, which kind of makes me think like maybe that's why they allowed Frederick Police Department to process the house, because there was nothing really valuable that CBI felt like, no, let us do it. And then they stepped in at the crime scene at Survey because that actually did have physical evidence that they needed to kind of process their way.
Right. That would make sense to me. That's interesting. I didn't really I think that's something I kind of overlook, I guess, is like the difference in the departments. So that's an interesting take on that.
Yeah, and that's just something that I kind of just noticed this time around rereading things. And it's like, wait, why would CBI not handle the evidence? And remember, we've seen for a long time now, we've looked at how they mishandled the beddings and how they put it in plastic bags. I mean, that was all the local police department that did that. So it just makes me think more and more that nothing happened in that bed.
Right.
So here, this one, I think I just wanted to show that this verbiage here was kind of confusing to me. So they're talking about this sheet. Okay, so this was interesting too. I then physically checked the sheet and determined there was nothing underneath it. So at one point, Chris stated that he left. So down here it says, Chris stated he left some of the girls' clothing and some toys wrapped in the sheet that we had located. And here they're talking about them at the scene. This is CBI notes. And it says, they determined that the sheet on the ground was the same one at the house, the pattern. I then physically checked the sheet and determined that there was nothing underneath. There was dirt stains on the sheet, including a large area of dirt stained with patterns that appeared to be from the sheet being dragged along the ground. And that's something that we kind of talked about too, like that one photograph that CBI agent is carrying it. If she was asphyxiated and then wrapped in that sheet and taken out, why is there only dirt as far as stains found on that sheet? Shouldn't there be some bodily fluids on it?
Right. Yes. I mean, it just doesn't add up.
Right. And there's no bodily fluids found in his truck.
I was just about to say the truck. Like, that truck has now been sold. Like, we hear some about the truck, but not as much as I would like to.
Yeah. So I do think that the patterns on the sheet at Survey did look like she was dragged along the ground. Now she could still have been alive, maybe passed out. And then I think her final resting moment, or her resting spot, was where her last moments took place. I think that's just my theory.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that she passed in the house. She might have been attacked in the basement because of our interest in the basement. And it seems like Tammy's interested in the basement aspect in the prison interview. Maybe they were laying down there and waiting to pounce on her. But as far as, her being killed in that bed and then taken out in that sheet, there should be more than just dirt stains on the sheet. And it says pretty much that the dirt stain with patterns that appeared to be from the sheet being dragged along the ground. Photographs were taken and the stains on the sheet. Copies of the photographs attached to this report. I also checked the garbage bags and found that neither bag had anything in them. So these are the bags found at Survey that they're talking about. It was determined that a search warrant would be sought for the property. And then it goes on. Okay, so I was advised by CBI agent in charge, Kirby Lewis, that Chris Watts had confessed to dumping the bodies of his wife, Shanann, and his children, Bella and Celeste, at the well site. The coroner was then requested to respond. Lewis also advised me that Chris stated he left some of the girls' clothing and some toys wrapped in the sheet that we had located. Commander Borders and Detective DeWitt again deployed the drone to search the well site for these items before the sunset, and it became dark. A thorough search of the area was conducted, but no items were found. So again, another example of Chris in his quote unquote confession stating that something was going to be there, and then they go there and it doesn't look the way that Chris has stated it. So he said that they should have toys in their clothing. I don't know. That's the other thing too, is like, that's another example of why I think that the girls were not a part of Chris's plan, because they left in their pajamas. But according to Chris in his polygraph interview, he says that there was another bag of clothes that was kind of packed for them. And they ask him, like, where's the clothing? Where's the toys? And he says underneath that sheet at Servy. And then here we have them saying, like, no, not there. And so where are the clothes?
Yeah, that's a huge question.
Yeah, and why did he say there was clothes? Again, you could say, well, he was just lying. But if this was all his whole plan, why would he need to pack them clothes?
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
No. And then, yeah, people are just questioning, like, why would he take them to where he works? And I mean, we have our theory on that, but I've even kind of, again, you can say I'm being critical. Maybe I am, but on day one, when NA walked into Nate's living room, she says something like he has a GPS on his truck. So I have questioned for years, like, why did they not get to Servy earlier? Like, why did it take them so long? I mean, they were already there before Chris, air quotes, confessed and told them, quotes, where the bodies were. They were already there. But I'm just like, I don't see how they couldn't have gotten there sooner. Like, it wasn't like he drove away in just a civilian car. It was a work truck. You contact Anadarko immediately. What capabilities do these trucks have? Where did Chris go? I'm just surprised they weren't there by Monday night or even like Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Especially since Chris had stated, and we've gone over this in other live streams over and over, that like he needed to get back to work.
Yeah, we did a whole live on that. Why did Chris want to get back to work? Because that's what Sandy said too. Like, Chris kept trying to go back to work, something like along those lines.
Yeah, and that led her to think that they were like in oil or something, but really we don't know exactly what Chris meant by that, or the reasoning why. It's just been theorized, with her gut instinct and mother instincts, that like, oh my gosh, like he disposed of them there, or it made sense to her that that's what happened. But we actually don't know if that's why Chris was stating over and over that he had to get back to work or needed to or whatever. I thought I had water in here.
Mm-hmm.
But House Huddle brings up a good point, like about the clothes that Chris states were supposed to be out there, almost as if someone was supposed to pick them up and take them to school that morning. And that goes along with him calling the school. Now, how many times? I think he called more than once. One time to say that they wouldn't be attending, and then another time to say they're not there, are they?
Like, he called twice. That might be right. Or did Sandy? I think he might have called once and Sandy called twice. I can't remember for sure now.
Again, that's something that we'd have to iron out. But I know that when he calls one time, he says they're not there, are they? And I think like the people at the daycare were like all confused, like what? Like, that's something we can go through on another live stream. But it is interesting that maybe they were supposed to be at a certain spot or being taken care of. Like, why would he tell them that there was clothing? And thank you, Margie. It's good to see you. And thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate that very much. I don't know. Very strange. Okay, so moving on. No toys underneath the sheet. Let's look at the drone footage. Now, when Chris is shown the photo of the drone footage in his interrogation, in the Netflix documentary, they don't show it in accurate timing. So in the Netflix documentary, Tammy hands Chris that paper that has like the image of Serby, and he instantly like says or labels it. That's not what took place. And we'll watch it when we get to that interrogation. It's not going to be tonight, obviously, but he like first he says he asks if that photo was taken that day. Why would he need to know if that photo was taken that day? You know what I mean? And then he takes like a couple minutes to even label Shanann at the shallow grave. So it's just something to kind of look through and kind of question. Toys were found in the garbage can in the garage. There were toys definitely found in that. I don't know if it's the toys that they left with. I think he describes like one of them as like a stuffed dog or something. I'm having a hard time remembering like the exact toys that he claims went with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. I know Tammy, I want to say Tammy kind of mentioned it too. Like, I don't remember. Yeah, there's something with the toys. Like, again, the way he claimed that they should still be out there.
Yeah.
There's something there. And that's why it would have been nice too to have 100% ironed out if he packed their backpacks, and if so, where exactly were they in the house? Like, I think we likely found them in the office, but House Huddle brought up a good point. Like, what if those weren't theirs and there were bags for the girls missing? If the plan was to hand them off for a little while, I don't know. Just all the things that were not tested, were not followed through on, are why we're all here.
Yeah. And some of the things he's never really asked about, like, so Chris, you told us that there were toys and clothes found under that sheet. We didn't find those. Why did you tell, like when they go back for the prison interview, why did you tell us that they would be out there? They weren't out there, and it's like, did they ask him that stuff and it's been redacted?
Right. And then another question, once again, feel free in chat or in the comments, but like, how long should it have really taken to get the work GPS? So why couldn't they, like, on Wednesday, when he's already being arrested, go ahead and look at his GPS and try to get to the dumpster sooner? It's frustrating that the coordinates of him stopping at that dumpster were there since they contacted him, got in contact with Chris on Monday. Officer Coonrod was told by NA his work truck has GPS while they're standing in Nate's living room. And then they missed the opportunity to check every coordinate from that morning until it's too late and that dumpster's gone.
Mm-hmm. And that's a scenario where they could have followed like to the dump and picked through, like maybe they did, but we have nothing to indicate that they did look through the local dump and all that. So now also, as far as, would there be blood found on the catwalk and on the hatches or the tanks? If Bella fought, and even if somebody stepped in a drip of blood and they walked up the tanks or whatever, like, why was nothing found there?
Right. And then again, the debate, like, did they really go through the top? That's kind of why I think, like, they just didn't think that they were in there at first. Like, no way, because even Coonrod's like, we have experts. I don't remember if he used the word experts, but we have people out there who, excuse me, just do not believe that they would fit. And they are out there looking at it with their own eyes. And that's why I think they just weren't believing that they went through there at first.
Yeah. And of course, it's problematic that when Chris is trying to like emphasize, like, yes, they did, and they're like looking and they're like, great, this is not going to match like the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, questioning him, like, are you sure? Because they know that the confession is already fallen apart. And good night, Chase. Thanks for being here.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me, like, they definitely didn't take, like, yeah, I grabbed them by their wrist and dropped them in easily. It was no problem at surface level. Like, they definitely were like, wait a minute, this isn't making sense. Now the rake that was found out there, it's interesting that they would leave it there. Like, why did they leave the rake out there?
I know.
But at the same time, look at all the other stuff that was left out there.
Right. And it's like, do we have fingerprint results from the rake?
No.
No. And I'm not accusing anybody, public disclaimer, but doesn't Troy put his hand on the shovel or the rake? He said, like, Chris had him hold his shovel.
Yeah, so Troy says that they're at Survey, and when they were getting ready to go or something, Troy took the shovel out of Chris's hands and covered up the oil stain, because if OSHA showed up, they could get in a lot of trouble.
Yes. Okay.
Troy places his hands on the shovel in case. Now you can search fingerprints in Discovery and it doesn't even come up as a word that's ever listed. Like, when do
Wow.
you see an investigation where the word fingerprint isn't even coming up? So bodily fluids don't come up. There's nothing to indicate urine or fecal matter in the house, truck, or the sheet out at Survey. And there's no fingerprint word that you can search that comes up. They did a fingerprint scan, but they only did a state scan. And multiple people involved in this case actually were from originally out of state. So some of them were transplants in Colorado. Like, they wouldn't be in the state ran.
Yes. Very good point.
Scan. And they never followed up with the federal one because the plea deal. So again, something that just kind of went undone when it comes to the investigation. Yeah, he puts emphasis on Chris says we had a shovel. And people are saying, well, that just means that they used them at work. You can't tell me what he means. Like,
exactly.
It could mean that. It definitely could mean that. But it could also mean we means multiple people,
Yes, amen. You cannot sit here, just like we can't tell you what exactly he meant by that. But yeah, I get that. I used to get that all the time in the comments. We just meant with Anadarko in general. Like, okay, we don't know that. Thank you. Moving on. Like, he said it. He did say it. That's the point. So take it how you will, but it's very telling.
And when it comes to the plastic bags, the garbage bags, they did, like I said, they did a fingerprint scan, but it wasn't, they only did a state one. So we never really got 100% like, okay, they processed this and it came back as Chris's, or, it just was kind of left open-ended once he signed the plea deal.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But let's see. Yeah, so someone's lying big time.
Yeah, that's to sum it all up.
And I honestly don't mean to be like a Debbie Downer, but I don't think this case will ever get reopened, even with a new district attorney.
I don't either. And I don't mean to, that would be incredible if it did, but I don't think it will. And I think even if it did get reopened, they would never have enough to take it to a trial to prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt at this point. The truck is gone. Survey's gone.
Right.
Well, Survey 319 is gone.
Now, and also, like, say you're one of the jurors and you don't know anything about this case.
Oh,
right?
my goodness, right.
And you end up hearing during a trial that, the state is trying to say that everybody's in their resting place by Monday morning. And you hear at trial that a water truck guy who does maintenance on the tanks is there on Tuesday, and he's vacuuming out water and he's kind of messing with the tanks, doing his job. And that a coworker shows up while the water truck guy is there and parks in front of the vision of the shallow grave. So the water truck guy says that's weird. Usually and you're a juror, so pretend you're hearing this from the water truck guy on the stand. He says in his interview, and he would say on the stand, that it was unusual to see an employee park his truck over in that area. And he thought it was unusual that the coworker said that he was looking for a wrench. It's just to find out that there was multiple people at Survey 319 before the bodies were even found. Me as a juror, if I knew nothing, I'd be like, wait, what?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a water truck guy was messing with liquid levels on Tuesday when supposedly the district attorney is saying that they were in there already. And Troy, the coworker, is parked in an unusual spot, blocking the view of anybody seeing this shallow grave that Shanann's in. That is just huge red flags. And as a juror, I would be like, wait, what's going on? So Troy was out there and possibly concealing the vision of the shallow grave from the water truck guy. And then, the whole wrench thing. Well, he actually wasn't looking for a wrench. He tells the cops that, well, I just told the water truck guy that I was actually out there seeing if I could find anything useful for the investigation. It's like, what?
Yeah. That whole scenario of how that played out would have been a huge question if this, had gone to trial. And if, again, in a case like this, everybody who was around that area, in my opinion, should have given, they didn't test fingerprints. It's so frustrating. And like you said, sitting at a trial and being like, oh, okay, this many people were at the scene after it happened. This coworker parked near and adjacent to the grave. Kept that out of his first interview. There's just too much to overlook it.
Mm-hmm. It's way too much. And even in this footage, I seen them kind of touching the railings, as they're walking down. It's like, wait, what if there was fingerprints or something, on those?
Or even a sweep of the catwalk for other hairs, or, I don't know, get down there with your kit and your gloves and collect. It didn't seem like that really happened.
Right. I don't know. It's just, it's way too many questions, and I can see why things were kind of rushed. Oh, get this guy to sign this plea deal.
Right.
Let me just check with chat before we end our session today. There's so much to go through. This hour and a half flies by.
It really does.
But yeah, people are saying yes, maybe she was lured to the basement. Troy is so suspicious. It's crazy AF. I agree.
And their texts. Serena, Troy was texting pics of explosions months before this happened. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And complaining about not getting a job that he had wanted. They told him he had a bad attitude or something.
Mm-hmm.
Hair was found on one of the hatches. That's correct, Deco. We never found out whose hair it was. In fact, rereading that, I didn't even see where it said blonde hair. Didn't it just say hair?
That's interesting if blonde is not there. Because I feel like it was at some point.
Yeah, or people were trying to say it was blonde hair.
Yeah.
I'm looking in the discovery real quick.
I know. I just typed in blonde. Curious. But again, we'll never know how much was redacted. Okay, so it just says that it appeared to be blonde in color on page 424.
Oh, okay. Because on 36, it says hair samples from the teeth hatch on top of an oil battery. Okay, so this was just a listing of things that they took. So yeah, it says parts of a rake, bed sheet. Now the rake part is what's kind of blowing my mind. Which kind of leads me to think that they did kind of go through that bottom hatch area, manway area, because that like dirt and stuff is more like gravel. Whereas Shanann's grave is very much like dirt. Like it's different than the material found around the tanks. Like for around the tanks, I don't have like the best picture, but it's got like stones and stuff. Like it's very like it's not like sandy like the shallow grave was. And then some of the pictures of this survey site, like not in this drone footage, but images, it looks like there are like rake markings around like where the tanks are. Again, I'd have to pull those up. I don't have any to show, but they're out there if you guys could find them. It just leads me to think maybe the rake was used around the tanks. Why would the rake be used for her shallow grave? You know, all you would really need to do is just cover her back up.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could see like smoothing it out once they use the shovel.
Yeah.
But it's just bizarre. It was still out there. And then Brody just said, you know, the vomit at Survey, that is something else that Amber and I remember being mentioned, and multiple people who we've spoken to who have researched the case very closely. There was mention of vomit. Now, I did put up photo or drone footage where I'm questioning, is this, it looks pink. Could that be the vomit? Comments are like, no way it could be. Others say, yeah, they think it is. So it's just up in the air, but that's something I 100% believe was redacted from the discovery.
And even if the pink stuff was like somebody said it was like a fire reagent or something like that, like I'm almost wondering if it was something to process the vomit. You know what I mean?
Right. Like I see what you're saying. Like if the vomit's in that area, they put that on top of it or something.
Yes.
And one thing I want to read, just this is something that, again, like if you've been here for a little while, you know, Amber and I lean towards that there was a explosion plan that wasn't able to happen due to the series of events. I think a lot of it had to do with the plane being late, Shanann changing her password. But right after, it's mentioned that they found the hair that appeared to be blonde in color. It says that the hair was photographed using the officer's cellular phone and that he was unable to use his SLR camera and flash due to the danger of the flash igniting fumes. So it just shows you like how easy it would have been with people who were knowledgeable in the field to, you know, cause an explosion if they wanted to.
100%. Good night, Florida Bass. He's off to bed now. I know that it's kind of morbid to kind of be showing this image right here, but I'm just showing that like I really don't see much like rake marks like at her grave.
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah. And Chris, I just saw someone say like he went to the bathroom. He did, but that was at a different site, the one that he went to after this. And that's another conversation I would love to have again, Amber, is we looked at all the times like that Troy says they left, Chris says he thinks they left, Cody, like all the different times that we hear verbally from the coworkers versus what the geotab says from that morning. That's another thing that just didn't quite add up. I think have a lot of those notes somewhere.
The tank was leaking. It was broken.
And that's another question, like that would have been ironed out had this gone further. Is like the whole is that protocol the way that Chris was out there alone? Like probably, you know, they say they don't like to be there alone, but yet Chris was. Like that's just another reason I think that the fact that they were disposed of at the oil field in the tanks has a big part of why this played out the way it did. The big oil aspect to it.
Yeah, and the thing too, like about there was a text message between Chris and Cody Roberts, and he says like something about wanting to meet up with Chris before things went sideways. Do you remember that?
Yeah, something like, or so things don't go sideways.
Yeah, in case things go sideways.
Yeah, that might have been
something like
it.
that. And it was so vague that it was like, but interesting at the same time. Like, why did he need to be with Chris at that moment? And what was he afraid of going sideways?
Mm-hmm.
And again, it could just be nothing. It could just be like, well, you know, that's just how they talk or whatever, their business at work, whatever. But we don't really know 100%.
Right.
Good to see you. Yeah, I'm usually not live on Wednesdays, so this is kind of different because I'm going out of town this week, but there was something else. Okay, so I read it takes half hour to take the bolts off of the manway. So that's the thing too, is like that's if you're using like a handheld wrench. I think, and House Huddle helped me out. You kind of described this earlier, but their trucks, much like mechanics, I don't know if you guys have ever like gone and seen like them take your tires off or whatever, and they have that like compressor thing, and then like they just put it up to the bolts, and it's like makes that noise, or it's like whoop, whoop, and it wouldn't be something that they went to that manway hatch area and manually like undid the bolts. It would be a device that they have like for them to do it super quick. So he has an air compressor on the truck, so the bolts would have been off quickly. Yeah. Thank you, House Huddle. But guys, like I said, the hour and a half is what we do for Watts and for most live streams. So we're going to have to pick this up next week. And yeah, we'll look at more stuff from Survey. I wanted to show the log of them bringing the coroner sheet to that area, and us look at that because it's just important to kind of look through the evidence and to kind of analyze it as much as we can. We have a lot of questions, but I really appreciate you being here again, Kelly. And guys, check her out on TikTok. Please follow her. I know you guys are on TikTok. Everybody has TikTok now. So give her a follow and subscribe to her channel too, because we have a whole bunch of Watts videos over there where we've gone over things. So in case we missed something or forgot about something, if you guys watch it, you can just comment and remind us on an important detail that I'm sure we've missed. So again, thank you all. And thank you, Kelly. Anything you want to say?
I did. I'll read the text message real quick. So it was 06:59 hours. And Robert's, let's see. Hold on. I was like, I'm going to read it. And then I lost it. So maybe not. But yeah, it was like if things go sideways.
Very weird.
Yeah.
That can mean a million things.
Exactly. It's just, again, like, and what do we not have, you know?
Yeah. So Sweet Crazy says, how did we get the video of her coming home if he erased the video? He didn't erase the video. He turned off their security system. So
yes.
And the security system is different from their Ring camera on the front door. Like it's all ran by like Vivint or whatever, but the camera on the front door was like a physical camera. Their system usually, like the garage door and the basement door, they were just door alerts. So there's no cameras except for the front door. But
okay, so here it is. Okay, so 0:41 hours. Roberts told Watts, I'm here at the 10:29 now. You mind coming out here just in case something gets sideways? And then Watts takes a picture at 3:19. So just interesting. All of it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Nancy said she just followed you on TikTok. All right. So guys,
thank you.
We will talk again next week. Yes. And like I said, if you want more Watts in between that time, go on TikTok and we'll talk very soon. And thank you all for being here. Great conversations in chat. If I missed your comments, I'm very sorry. I'm trying to just stay really focused, and CDT and I kind of go off on our like thought process live with you guys. So it's just kind of, I want to stay organized, but I also want to just free flow our thoughts. So thanks everyone, and goodbye.
Bye.